they keep lying to us about this. Is following Jake McCabe and Dan Camp going down with an injury. Craig Berube came out and revealed that the injury was something minor, but we have a brand new report that dropped today revealing this is much worse than expected. More importantly, the Leafs have lied to us again ahead of the playoffs, and this is a major cause for concern. We're going to break all that down in this episode, as well as break down some other updates ahead of their big game tomorrow. But before we get into it, if you're part of the 71% who aren't subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We're getting very close to our goal of 16,000 subscribers. So you want to help us towards the goal of 16K, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys again for your continued support, dears. A lot to go over today, and the worst fear of mine, I said it on the live stream, is seemingly started to come true. And obviously, we know we're no secret to the Leafs saying that injuries are day to day and all these different things. And Jake McCabe went down with an injury a couple of games ago. David Camp, we have an update today to go over, and it's not the one that a lot of people expected, but it's also one of the more interesting updates we've seen in a while. Let's not waste any more time. Let's dive into it here. So an update. Defensemen Jake McCabe and David Camp, who both missed last game due to injuries, were on the ice for this morning's optimal skate, which was good. The optional skate, they were there. However, neither will make the trip to Florida for the Tuesday-Wednesday back-to-back against the Panthers and the Lightning in the two most important games of the year. David Camp and Jake McCabe are both missing it due to injury. And let's not forget, Craig Berube came out a couple days ago, or 3 days ago, following the injury and said it's day-to-day and they don't have necessarily a timeline right now. So the biggest fear is starting to come true a little bit here as it pertains to the playoffs. The good news is they're skating. The bad news is they lied to us again about the day-to-day thing, because by the time this is said and done, it's going to be minimum 1 week.
Yeah, and we know everything that's happened so far this season with the Toronto Maple Leafs and the day-to-day thing, the week-to-week thing that turns into, if it is day-to-day, it turns into week-to-week, and then if it's week-to-week, it turns into month-to-month. We've seen that a couple times already this season. And following the game, he didn't have any insight, Craig Berube, this is, into the severity of both injuries, right? And he said that they're listed as day-to-day right now because we don't know. But it would be better than saying day-to-day in that moment, just saying we don't know yet. We'll get you an update when we have one, right? Instead of telling everyone that it's day-to-day. Now, I do understand that for, the media and everything, you have to give a status, right? So day-to-day, it could make sense. But they haven't upgraded it at all. They haven't changed it at all, right? And at this point, it's going to be at least a week, like you said, that they will miss, and they were day-to-day before. Day-to-day to me means they might miss the next game, or maybe, they'll miss practice the next day and you'll be back in the lineup because it's just something that's bothering you and you should be back soon, right? That's not the case. Now we're heading into a week of missing them, at least in games and practices as well. The good news is they were skating today, right? They were on the ice, which is good. At least they're not off the ice and missing time. But still, the fact that the Leafs continue to do this is a little bit upsetting, I think, because, how do you really know what's going on? Or, should you be scared that Jake McCabe could miss time in the playoffs at this point? It's not looking likely. He is skating, right? But you never know. So, again, seems like day to day has turned into week to week, and hopefully they don't miss any more time. There's a big game this weekend against the Montreal Canadiens on Saturday as well, which would be, I guess, now the question turns to, are they going to return for that game? And if they don't, I'm concerned, right? Because what does the lineup look like for the playoffs? And not just the lineup with David Camp being out, the defense pairings. That would be an issue without Jake McCabe. Not just the rest of the pairings, but missing Jake McCabe. He's been great this season.
Yeah, I said in the stream when it happened following the game that the big issue now is not necessarily if he misses the last game, the game after that. It's most specifically about if he misses the playoffs. And obviously we're at the point now where the playoffs is what matters the most, even though the Atlantic Division also matters despite Florida tanking themselves. We're going to have a video on that. It's a bit ridiculous in that regard. But you mentioned it, and it's a very interesting situation because I think we've all been, the Austin Matthews injury, we relied to a bunch of injuries this season, at least as it pertains to the timeline, maybe not necessarily the injury. I don't fully blame the Leafs, especially for this specific injury, because maybe they're still dealing with trying to figure out what's on the go with Jake McCabe. We still have no update on the injury itself. And as we were approaching, we're a week and a bit away, a week and a half from the playoffs. The biggest fear might come true, and that would be Jake McCabe missing any sort of time in the playoffs. The good news is they're skating on the ice, but this is a huge 2 games to miss, and they thought they were going to miss these games. I'd like to see some sort of an update there, but again, they're going to do what's best for the team. I understand that, but it is a very interesting one. You can also see this here. After taking Sunday off, Leafs held only optional practice today. Rare for a no full skate after a day off. Berube came out and said back-to-back games coming up twice in 5 days or whatever it is. That's part of the reasoning. They're playing Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday and Sunday. So 2 back-to-backs here with a couple days off in between. No skating for back-to-back days is interesting. We don't know how the lineups are going to shape out. I would assume they're going to be very similar to what they were in the last game. The Leafs played absolutely fantastic in that game, sent a serious message against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So I would assume that. But we also now don't know who's starting in what game. I would presume Stolarz for his third. I mean, maybe Joseph Woll goes in and then Stolarz goes up against the Lightning. But of course, Florida is his former team, and he's played fairly well against them this season. Nothing great. He's had some rough ones. What are your thoughts on the back-to-back day of no full skating?
Yeah, the classic, back to back in Carolina on a Sunday. Love it. Love to see that again. But I think that it's going to be interesting this week to see who gets the start in the first game against Florida. Like you said, Anthony Stolarz, his former team, he started against Florida twice already this season. So I wonder if he gets, or three times, I should say. I wonder if he gets the last one as well. And what happens with Joseph Woll at this point in time, right? Do you want to see what Stolar has three in a row, right, to get ready for the playoffs? I think that's kind of the test that they've been doing right now. So that's something to keep a lookout for. And also the standings this week, right? There are huge implications on the standings this week because of the every opponent that the Leafs have, could shift around in positioning, right? Pretty significantly, except for the Ottawa Senators. We have to keep an eye on that, who at this point, it's looking pretty crazy. It looks like they might actually get a divisional playoff spot and the Florida Panthers fall out. So big implications on the game tomorrow. I wonder who gets the start. And I think in terms of missing the skate today, the Leafs, first of all, I think on Saturday earned an extra day off, which obviously some guys are skating today. It's an optional skate, all of that. But with the performance, you earn a day off. And I think this team is a little bit beat up. The way that they're playing this year, they're competing pretty hard. They've been playing really, really well lately, except for those two losses against San Jose and obviously Nashville. But they've been competing hard. They're checking well. So Berube's saying, listen, the season's almost done here. Get an extra day off. No problem about that, right? Take the rest you need. And you have a busy week coming up against opponents that, Florida, tough team. Tampa's playing some good hockey. Montreal is fighting for their lives in the playoffs right now, although it looks like they're going to make the playoffs. And Carolina's a great team too. So give the guys an extra day off.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, Florida, and we can look at the standings right now. As it stands, the Senators are 2 points back of the Panthers. And again, we'll have a full video covering this, but there's a good chance that the Leafs end up winning the division and somehow still playing the Florida Panthers because either A, the Panthers want to play the Leafs, or B, they don't want to play the Lightning. So we're going to have a video on that. But yeah, the standings are getting very close, and I'm fine with the day off. It's interesting. We'll know tomorrow what the projected goaltending is. I think the lineups are going to stay basically the same. You don't really have much wiggle room. Like, we know what the blue line is going to be because Jake McCabe is out. David Camp, Pontus Holmberg's going to replace him in the fourth line center position. So it's going to be interesting. But something, shifting gears a little bit, Austin Matthews spoke out on, of course, Alex Ovechkin yesterday broke the all-time goal-scoring record. And he spoke out and said, I don't think I should even be in the conversation about potentially breaking it later in his career. It's such a long way to go. I don't think I should even be in that conversation. This guy just broke the record. I'm so far away from that, and I don't think the focus should really be on me. Very mature answer. I also agree. I mean, maybe Austin Matthews can go for it at some point, but let's we can let Alex Ovechkin have his flowers for this one. But any final thoughts on that before we dive into a couple quotes for wrap up?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, in terms of pacing, Matthews could eventually get there one day for sure if he continues seasons like last year and the year before that, right? Obviously, this year he's dealing with an injury, but in terms of pacing, he could eventually get there, but he's not even close to that right now. So let's not have him in the conversation. In terms of Ovi, crazy accomplishment for people our age, growing up watching Ovi come into the league and stuff. Like, it was absolutely electric. So pretty amazing accomplishment. I don't think anyone ever thought that a record like that was ever going to be broken. So I think it inspires, the new generation coming up right now too, that like, hey, I can do that. So I wonder if anyone's going to end up breaking it, but he's also not done. I wonder if he gets to 1,000.
Yeah, let us know about your thoughts on that. A couple other things before we wrap up here. And funny enough, Austin Matthews spoke out on Vladimir Guerrero Jr. settings. If you're a Jays fan, you might like this one. He said, "I've been fortunate to get to know him over a little bit over the years. He's an incredible player, still a really young player, and a franchise kind of guy. It's pretty cool to have a guy like him wrapped up for several years. So if you're a Jays fan, kind of cool to see the kind of overlap there." And then Craig Berube and Matthew Nye saying he's playing playoff hockey. That's for sure as well. We're almost there, ladies and gentlemen. The playoffs are just around the corner. Hopefully Jake McCabe can get back, and hopefully the Leafs don't lie to us anymore about this day-to-day things. We've done and dealt with it plenty of times this season. That'll wrap it up. We don't know what your thoughts are. Thank you guys for watching.